So a firestorm has erupted overnight as people began sharing on Twitter X the Biden administration's proclamation of a Transgender Day of Visibility on March 31st of this year. Now, the problem arises from this proclamation coinciding with the sacred Christian Easter holiday of Easter this Sunday. Now, this proclamation has been met with outrage and criticism from some Christian groups who view the timing as insensitive, offensive, and purposeful, especially given the significance of Easter as one of the holiest days in all of Christianity. You see, the celebration of Christ rising from the dead after his self-sacrifice for the sins of all mankind is a big deal for Christians. This is how they become saved. That's the whole crux of the religion, right? It's about as important as Christmas is. So when you have the proclamation from Biden here, of course it was bound to draw a lot of outrage. Now, this proclamation is not a one-off. It's part of Biden's broader commitment to transgender rights, emphasizing their importance of recognizing the courage and contributions of transgender Americans. It also condemns the action of so-called extremists proposing laws targeting transgender individuals, particularly children, which of course is just regular folks passing laws to protect their children from gender ideology being pushed upon their kids under the guise of sex education. These aren't extremists. These are rational parents saying, wait, hold up. Let's not discuss this with our kids just yet. And the other laws that are being castigated here would be laws that are all about protecting women from invasion of their spaces by biological males. We can see examples of this, like the battles that are playing out throughout much of the sports community in the attempt to preserve female sports for women only. And there's a lot of drama there, right? So let's take a look at the Biden admin proclamation here. The White House says, on Transgender Day of Visibility, we honor the extraordinary courage and contributions of transgender Americans and reaffirm our nation's commitment to forming a more perfect union. Okay, and then we can scroll down here. And this is where they talk about making public services more accessible for transgender Americans, including with more inclusive passports, which seems a bit problematic, by the way. Passports, IDs, kind of important that it's accurate, especially if you go to a doctor. You know, men and women have different biological functions, probably should know. But whatever. So, yeah, he talks about that, and there's much to do. I continue to call on the Congress to pass the Equality Act to codify civil rights protections for all LGBTQ plus IA. And towards the end, he says, I, Joseph Biden Jr., President of the United States of America, by virtue of the authority vested in me by the Constitution and the laws of the United States, do hereby proclaim March 31st, 2024 as Transgender Day. So obviously this sparked a lot of backlash, and let's take a look at some of the stuff here. We can see on Twitter, for example, you have this random person here talking about it's disgraceful that they have the Transgender Day of Visibility on Easter. Laverne Spicer talking about how y'all can't love Jesus and vote for Joe Biden too. And you have people suggesting that Joe Biden should be kicked out of the Catholic Church. And here's another Twitter poster saying Easter Sunday is being replaced. Our Catholic president banned religious imagery from the White House and is now calling Easter Sunday Transgender Day of Visibility. So this is trending all over Twitter X right now. So aside from the many Christians finding this action repulsive and insensitive, what's adding fuel to the fire here, aside from it being coinciding with Easter, is the recent news story that exposed the White House's recent banning of Christian religious symbols for their Easter celebration. So not only are you celebrating a Transgender Day of Visibility on Easter, the Biden admin is also banning Easter decorations that have any kind of Christian religious symbols. So what's happening here? Well, the Biden administration implemented a new policy for its 2024 Celebrating National Guard Families art contest, part of the White House's annual Easter egg roll, that prohibits children from submitting Easter egg designs that feature any religious symbols or overtly religious themes. This decision was outlined in a flyer with instructions from the White House, which stated that submissions must not include any, quote, questionable content, religious symbols, overtly religious themes. So we're putting religious symbols as questionable content in that same vein. Obviously, that's going to get Christians outraged here. And this was among other restrictions, by the way, depictions promoting bigotry, racism, hatred, or harm against any group or individual. Now, the contest invited children of National Guard families to decorate an egg template with themes reflecting their life, just as long as it doesn't reflect their Christianity in their life, with the winning submissions to be recreated and displayed at the White House during the Easter and Passover season, again, minus any religious references, or Christian references anyway. Once again, this is a slap in the face to Christians. Easter is directly tied to the rebirth of Jesus Christ. So, big deal here, and people can see this. So when you put these two together, yeah, you're going to build a firestorm. People don't believe that you care about Christians. In fact, it seems like you're attacking them. That's the way it's being perceived. Now, let's take a step back and take a look at this. What is the reality of the situation? Was this post offensive and insensitive? Yeah, you bet. Absolutely. Of course. Now, I do need to point one thing out, though. This is not the first time that the Biden admin has acknowledged March 31st as a Transgender Day of Visibility. In fact, back in 2021, President Joe Biden officially proclaimed March 31st as Transgender Day of Visibility, marking the first time an American president formally recognized the event. Biden's proclamation was a call to all Americans to join in the fight for full equality for all transgender people. This recognition was seen by supporters of the issue as a significant step in supporting transgender rights and raising awareness of the issues faced by the transgender community. Now, while the date of March 31st wasn't technically created to conflict with Easter Sunday necessarily, the White House's actions, like the banning of Christian symbols during the Easter holiday and other slights along that vein, has led to a growing feeling from the religious community that they are not respected by this administration. So naturally, when this Transgender Day of Visibility announcement went up against the same day as Easter, well, yeah, this was destined to create a massive firestorm of outrage. Which I don't doubt for a second that Biden's handlers had to have known that this would have happened. Clearly, they don't care. I mean, how could you not see this coming, right? And if they did care, well, either they're stupid and they didn't realize this, or they would have handled this better and with much more sincerity. Well, like, for example, if they wanted to do both, perhaps including acknowledgments of both events and giving them equal respect. That would have been a bare minimum if you were trying not to offend Christians. Either way, though, it's another misstep by this administration, one which they can ill afford in this hostile political climate. After all, November is looming large on the horizon, a day that many Americans seemingly can't wait for. And that, my friends, will bring this episode to a close once more. From the To Be Frank Show, I am Adrian. Thanks for watching. I'll see you all next time.